Tensions are once again flaring between two of Asia's largest powers, China and India, this time not over land borders or military disputes, but over water. Reports emerging from both sides indicate that disagreements over large dam projects in the Himalayan region have escalated sharply, raising fears of a severe water crisis across South Asia. Experts are warning that if this dispute is not managed diplomatically, the consequences could be devastating, affecting millions of people who depend on shared rivers for drinking water, irrigation, and electricity. The issue centers around the mighty Brahmaputra River, known in China as the Yarlung Tsangpa, which originates in Tibet and flows through Arunachal Pradesh and Assam in India before entering Bangladesh. This river is not only a crucial lifeline for agricultural communities but also a strategic resource for both Beijing and New Delhi. With growing populations and increasing water demand, both countries have turned to massive hydropower and dam construction projects, sparking fears of water wars in the future. According to Chinese state media, Beijing has accelerated the construction of a megadam on the Yarlung Tsangpa in Tibet. Officials describe it as the largest hydroelectric project of its kind, designed to generate enormous amounts of renewable energy. China argues that the dam will help reduce reliance on coal and contribute to global climate goals. However, India sees this move as a direct threat to its water security. Indian experts worry that China's upstream dams could give Beijing control over the flow of water into India. In the event of conflict or political tension, India fears China could manipulate river flow either by diverting water, reducing supply during dry months, or releasing excess water suddenly, causing floods downstream. New Delhi has raised its concerns in multiple bilateral meetings, but so far, no concrete agreement has been reached. Adding to the tension, India itself has announced plans to build several dams in Arunachal Pradesh, a region already disputed by China. Beijing has strongly objected to these projects, claiming the area as part of its territory. Analysts believe this is not just a water issue but part of the larger border rivalry that has long strained relations between the two nuclear-armed neighbors. In recent weeks, the rhetoric on both sides has become sharper. Indian officials have stated that water security is directly linked to national security, and they cannot allow any upstream activity by China to endanger millions of Indian citizens. Meanwhile, Chinese officials dismiss these fears, insisting that their projects are run-of-the-river dams that do not store or divert significant water. They accuse India of politicizing what they call a purely developmental and environmental project. Water experts, however, argue that the reality is far more complicated. Even if China's dams are not designed to permanently divert water, they do have the ability to regulate flows, especially during times of drought or monsoon floods. This creates a power imbalance in which China holds the upper hand as the upstream country. Beyond India and China, the stakes are also high for Bangladesh, which lies further downstream. Any disruption of water flow could impact agriculture and fisheries that sustain tens of millions of Bangladeshis. Dhaka has expressed concern quietly, urging both Beijing and New Delhi to ensure that their projects do not destabilize the fragile ecological balance of the region. International observers say the situation is becoming a classic case of hydropolitics, where rivers shared by multiple countries become a tool of influence and conflict. The United Nations has repeatedly emphasized the need for transboundary river agreements, but progress has been slow. Unlike many regions of the world, South Asia lacks a comprehensive water-sharing treaty that covers all major rivers. Environmental groups are also raising alarms about the ecological consequences of these megaprojects. Large dams in fragile Himalayan regions could increase the risk of earthquakes and landslides, while also destroying habitats and affecting the natural flow of sediment that nourishes downstream farmlands. Climate change further complicates the picture. With glaciers melting at unprecedented rates, river flows may become even more unpredictable in the coming decades. In India, opposition politicians are accusing the government of being too soft on Beijing and failing to secure India's water interests. Parliamentary debates have highlighted the need for urgent diplomatic initiatives as well as investment in domestic water management. On the streets, farmers in Assam and Arunachal Pradesh have expressed deep concern, saying that their livelihoods are directly at stake if river flows are altered. In China, the state narrative emphasizes development, energy generation, and poverty reduction. Chinese experts argue that hydropower is essential for achieving carbon neutrality targets and improving the living standards of people in Tibet.
They accuse India of hypocrisy, pointing out that New Delhi itself is building multiple dams on rivers flowing into Bangladesh and Nepal. The geopolitical angle cannot be ignored.
India and China are already locked in a tense military standoff along their Himalayan border, with skirmishes reported as recently as last year.
Analysts warn that the water issue could add a dangerous new dimension to this rivalry.
When two nuclear powers begin to clash over basic resources like water, the risks multiply, one regional expert told international media.
The United States and other global powers are closely watching these developments.
Washington, which has sought to deepen its ties with India as part of its Indo-Pacific strategy, has voiced concern over China's water projects in Tibet.
Some Western analysts suggest that water disputes could become the next major flashpoint in
Asia, potentially more dangerous than trade wars or even military skirmishes.
Despite the tensions, there are still calls for dialogue.
Experts recommend that India and China establish a transparent water sharing mechanism that includes real-time data on river flows, dam operations, and flood management.
Confidence-building measures, they argue, could prevent misunderstandings and reduce the risk of escalation. Some suggest that multilateral platforms involving Bangladesh and even Nepal should be created to ensure regional cooperation on water security. As things stand, however, both sides appear unwilling to back down. India continues to push ahead with its own dam projects in Arunachal Pradesh, while China is moving rapidly on its megadam in Tibet.
The lack of trust between the two countries makes compromise difficult, and each move by one side is viewed with suspicion by the other.
For the millions of people living along the Brahmaputra, the stakes could not be higher. Farmers depend on the river for irrigation, families rely on it for drinking water, and entire regions count on it for economic survival.
Any disruption, whether through deliberate action or unintended environmental consequences, could spark a humanitarian crisis of enormous proportions.
As South Asia faces rising temperatures, unpredictable monsoons, and growing populations, the pressure on shared rivers will only intensify. The current dispute between China and India is a warning sign of how water scarcity could become the central security challenge of the 21st century.
Unless handled with wisdom, cooperation, and diplomacy, the battle for rivers could one day become even more dangerous than the battle for land. For now, the world watches anxiously as Beijing and New Delhi continue their standoff, this time not just over borders, but over the very lifeline of millions, water.